Ladies and gentlemen, I want to read you a factcheck.org article. Quote, at the time, the international community and anti-corruption advocates in a country being invaded right now under the watch of Democrats were also calling for the prosecutor to be removed from office for his failure to aggressively prosecute corruption. End quote. This is in relation to then Vice President Joe bragging and boasting that he was withholding $1 billion in loan guarantees from a corporation, major oil and gas corporation within the country now already invaded under the watch of Democrats, bragging that he was going to withhold $1 billion until a specific prosecutor was fired from his post. This is not U.S. foreign policy. The Secretary of State, the president at the time, President Obama, did not back mashed potato brains Joe, who was vice president. We know this because the officials that he spoke to stated to him that he doesn't have the authority. And then Joe said, well, go call President Obama. Go call the president. But the fact that they didn't think he had the authority to do so within that clip, because he's boasting about everything. He's like, oh, yeah, they said you don't have the authority. I said, go call the president. The issue is that Hunter, his son, was getting paid $80 to $100,000. And there's an email from the New York Post. From the New York Post. One of the first articles from the New York Post covering Hunter's emails. Stating, from that company to Hunter, how can you use your influence on the company's behalf? Then there's another email stating that he gives 10% of his revenue or earnings or income to his father, the then vice president. Then there are meetings that Joe had with his son Hunter's business partners that both lied about, especially the then vice president and our current president now. This is more evidence, more data, more facts, more information than anything they utilized to justify investigations of Donald Trump. Donald Trump was investigated on Comey's memos. His recollection. He memorialized memos. A meeting from Alexander Downer and George Papadopoulos, who was set up, and exculpatory evidence not given to the judge, where he actually refutes everything that Downer allegedly claimed. And Alexander Downer was an Australian diplomat with ties to the foundation of Bill and Hillary. And then the Steele dossier, which is purchased by Clinton and the Democratic Party. And they even paid an FEC fine for it because they used donations, which weren't meant to pay for a fabricated, absurd document meant to foster government investigations. They didn't have emails saying, hey, how can you use your influence, Trump, on behalf of a company giving Jared or Donald Trump Jr. or Eric Trump hundreds of thousands of dollars a month or 80 to 100 a month. There were no emails. There's no top secret servers that Trump's using outside of the United States government like Hillary. There's nothing they have on Trump. They have a dossier, an absurd meeting where they accuse, somebody, an official in the Trump administration of wrongdoing because someone said he committed wrongdoing, Alexander Downer. And they have Trump's tax returns. They found nothing, but they investigate Trump based on mere suspicion. This fact check article, well, at the time, the international community wanted Joe to do this. Who cares? There's no evidence that he was told to do this by President Obama. He doesn't have the authority as the vice president to force out a country's officials. Furthermore, the fact that emails from that corporation to his son asking for help and influence on behalf of that corporation, and you get the father forcing out a government official who was, according to Rudy Giuliani, going to investigate the corporation. I think that's worthy of investigation, which will lead to impeachment, obviously. We're not even getting to all the emails all the different pay-to-play schemes and obvious quid pro quo and obvious, hey, do this for me, we'll give you money. We'll go ahead and employ your son if you help us. There's the help potentially. The pushback, the rebuttal as well. We were trying to prevent corruption in that country by a corrupt act ourselves, by implementing a corrupt act. I mean, you can't even get more Orwellian. It's the definition of doublespeak. Well, why did you force out that prosecutor? Well, because he was not doing enough to help limit corruption. Yeah, but your son was getting paid by a corporation that stood to benefit from the ousting of that government official. Furthermore, we have emails that show that same corporation asked your son for influence on behalf of the company to help them. Oh, there's nothing there. I mean, he did what the international community wants. So what? U.S. national security is not determined by what the international community wants. Oftentimes, it's the opposite of what the international... 20 years ago it was, but Bush, Cheney, and Rumsfeld didn't care. You're either with us or against us. So the international community is a crutch that Democrats primarily, or even Bush Republicans utilize. The Lincoln Project people or Democrats utilize the, quote, international community when it suits them. When it doesn't suit them, they say, well, it's national interest. You're either with us or you're against us. So those emails correlate directly to what Joe did. Now, you can say, oh, there's nothing there. It wasn't... Where's the evidence that President Obama or anyone, Secretary of State Kerry at the time, why was Joe a point man for that country when his son was being paid by a corrupt oil and gas corporation? Furthermore, Hunter has done business in numerous countries that are viewed as geopolitical adversaries. One corporation that is now sanctioned by the United States government, I believe that's the case. And there's just a treasure trove of emails where he says, oh, I'm one of them. I give 10% of the earnings that I have to my father. So that's an issue. Hit subscribe to this channel right now. Hit subscribe to the Stock Market Crash channel and the Bitcoin Crash channel below. Ladies and gentlemen, impeachment's around the corner. You should be focused on that. Everyone who is interested in the Durham Probe Special Counsel, like I am, or justice, quote unquote, or, eventually the tide turning or the tables turning, the script being flipped, the shoe being on the other foot for once, or for the first time in a while, you should focus on this. The impeachment's going to be fantastic because there's a lot to work with. There's actually evidence. It's not a dossier purchased by somebody. They investigate Trump based on suspicion fostered or fabricated or created from a dossier that's fabricated. They don't deal in reality. If they don't have anything on Trump, they'll create it. They'll buy it and create it. Same with the Sussman and the Alpha Bank allegations. But again, it wasn't... The testimony from Robbie Mook and Mark Elias was more than you needed. Much more important than... Because it pointed the finger to one person. It was Hillary that organized everything. That's what they said on the trial. She was giving media knowingly false information just to help foster investigations of Trump. Media would, like they're doing right now, like they always do, would go to bat for Democrats and do everything possible to undermine Trump, just like a fabricated quote about him and his vice president. Oh, did you see what he said? How do you know he said it? Well, he just said it. They're actually using fabricated quotes without any backing, no sourcing, no evidence that he ever said anything against Pence, but they're saying he did it. He said it. And we can't even put two and two together with Hunter's emails and what Joe did. We can't do that. That's impossible. Why? Because the international community was and anti-corruption advocates in that country. You mean no anti-corruption advocate was against what Joe did? Are you kidding me? Anyway, hit subscribe to this channel right now. Hit subscribe to the Stock Market Crash channel and the Bitcoin Crash channel below. I'll have segments later this evening on those channels. Ladies and gentlemen, I think you should focus or be interested in the impeachment issue. because they're probably going to impeach Biden twice. The Hunter's emails are an endless trove of clear, almost certain criminal activity in which the president lied about and covered it up, or at least allowed the media to cover it up for him. And it's right there. The New York Post, those journalists should win a Pulitzer Prize. Unfortunately, they're likely not going to win a Pulitzer Prize because the Pulitzer Prize is only given to journalists who go after Trump. Never journalists anymore that go after Democrats. Give me your thoughts below. But the New York Post journalists deserve, and the Daily Mail journalists also. Those two publications, especially the New York Post that broke the story, deserve Pulitzer Prizes. Give me your thoughts below. Hit subscribe to this channel right now. Be back in about 2 hours on this channel. Thank you.